Conversions with compound units are very similar to other types of conversions. First, it's important to be able to distinguish if something is a compound unit. A compound unit has more than one type of measurement. So some examples are grams per milliliter, miles per hour, kilograms per second. You can even have many units in the same unit. So this version here is liters times atmospheres per mole Kelvin. This is actually just a unit. For a unit conversion with compound units, you need to convert each type of unit, and it's extremely important to make a plan. These are very complex units sometimes, and it can be easy to get lost if you don't have a plan going into it. Let's take a look at an example of how we would convert compound units. In this example, if your pace on a treadmill is 65 meters per minute, what is your pace in kilometers per hour? Whenever you are working with compound units, so we have two different units to start with, 65 meters per minute, so that's two different units, and we're converting to two different units, kilometers per hour. So make sure that you identify what the units are. Next, we want to make sure and write our starting value as a fraction. So 65 meters per minute. And I put a 1 here so that I remember that it's 65 meters for every 1 minute. It's very helpful to write it as a fraction. Make sure and write it as a fraction top bottom so that you can line up all of your conversion factors. Make sure you look at where you need to end up. So what I want at the end is kilometers per hour. So I'm going to write this one as a fraction as well. Okay. That tells us that we are going to be needing to convert this meters into kilometers and our minutes into hours. So I want to make a plan. I'm going to convert my meters into my kilometers, and I'm going to convert my minutes into hours. Sometimes you may think that that's a waste of time to take that extra step to actually write out what your plan is, but this helps you to keep track without doing extra steps that are unnecessary. This also can help us to identify what conversion factors we need. So we need something that's going to relate meters to kilometers. If we look at our conversion factors from before, we have 1 kilometer is equal to 10 to the third meters. So that's the equivalence that's going to give us from meters to kilometers. We also can write an equivalence for minutes and hours. So 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So you want to make sure you identify what steps you're doing, what equivalences you need to do each of these steps. Then we're going to take my 65 meters for every 1 minute, and I'm going to do my first step. I'm going to convert my meters into kilometers. So just like before, we're going to multiply by a fraction. We want to get rid of our meters and end up with kilometers. Meters is on the top of the fraction here, so we're going to need to put meters on the bottom here. Kilometers is what we want, so that's going to be on the top of my fraction. Then I can just pull my numbers from the problem. 1 kilometer, 10 to the third meters. That's going to get rid of my meters and give me kilometers. My second step, so I've done this step here in my math, minutes to hours, and once again, multiply by a fraction. Minutes is on the bottom of the fraction, so you need to make sure it's on the top of this fraction. Hours is going to be on the bottom. Look at our equivalents, 60 minutes for 1 hour. Notice we have minutes on the bottom, minutes on the top, so those are going to cancel out. Now I multiply through the top and divide by the values on the bottom, and that gives me 3.9 kilometers, the only unit left on the top. Hours is the only unit left on the bottom. So I would write this as 3.9 kilometers per hour. Make sure that you keep track of your units. The most common error people make in compound unit conversion is not keeping track of all of their units. If you keep track of all of the units and your units agree with what you're looking for at the start, then you should be able to get the right answer.